Hi, I'm Cade,
And I'm Kit,
and we're real people.
doing real reviews. We are reviewing the movie The Coffee Table, and I am a bit lightheaded from this,
Yes.
and I'm struggling with doing this review. It was really intense topics that were covered in this film, and
Just to catch anyone up,
mhm,
if you're just now joining us, we are in season 2.
of the top 13 horror films of 2024. And today we watched The Coffee Table, which you can find on Shudder and AMC, right? Is it the same?
AMC. Yeah.
AMC, yeah. And it
Yeah.
was
Number 7.
number 7.
Top 7.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm like getting down.
We're getting down there.
Yeah, that's true.
And,
Oh my god.
and yeah, I think Kit here.
I think a lot of people will react and respond the way that I am.
That's fair.
Yeah, I think especially if you're a parent, it is a Spanish piece of cinema. Um,
Which already has, I think, always a Spanish film is always.
explore topics that we don't typically explore in cinema in North America,
Yeah.
especially
A
when it
bit
comes to
darker.
genre. Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, even dark fantasy, even, and I appreciate that. I think one of the number two horror film from last year was Oda, Latin America, Oda, Mexico City, and it was, um,
Uh,
yeah, it was cool.
I'm quite excited to watch it.
Yeah,
We'll
it'll be
we'll have to tell you about that
here soon.
here
Yeah.
soon. We're getting down there.
Yeah. No, I was saying from last year, I think the year before.
Oh, from 2023.
Yeah, and it was this very high-ranking Mexico City film, and
I can't
they
think of the name.
it was called Huesara, and the
Oh.
Bone Woman would be the English translation, and it was it explored some really interesting, heavy topics. So I was really excited to watch this film because I like that. Yeah, that we see subject matter that goes the distance and brings up topics that maybe typically we don't explore, which is something I so appreciate about the horror genre, that we go to places and explore darker parts of our mind, heart, reaction, response. And so I feel like they just do it really well. I feel like the Spanish know how we do it. And so yeah, we're reviewing The Coffee Table. Oh my gosh. I'm kind of
So yeah.
go ahead. You talk
Yeah.
about the plot maybe.
Yeah, I'll talk about the plot.
Can't.
You do some deep breathing.
Oh my god.
So the film starts out and they're in the hospital
Mhm,
and you hear her giving birth to their child.
mhm.
And then it cuts to the couple with their baby at a furniture store, kind of with the salesperson talking about this coffee table that is
Just the ugliest
awful.
thing
Yeah.
I've ever seen. Like, it is the tackiest, most, and definitely not something you would purchase with a baby.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, so it has like a glass top and it has these two like
naked gold women statues.
naked gold women.
Yep.
I was trying to make sure my accent didn't come out when I said naked.
Naked.
I'll see there.
Tribute
Yeah.
it with 2 K.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, they're arguing about this, and then the father's finally like, "I'm gonna buy this table. I want it.
Yeah, I'm gonna win
I'm gonna win."
argument.
And and then the next scene, it shows him walking up the 6 flights of stairs with this huge box to put this table together.
Yep.
And yeah, he's which is quite funny. It's I would probably have to say like there is some like comedy kind of like laugh in the midst moments throughout the whole thing.
Awkward comedy or physical comedy, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anybody carrying something really heavy up the stairs for a long period of time is kinda hilarious because it's so, like, cumbersome and you're like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
Mhm.
So he's carrying it up. The neighbors from the flat, like up above them, comes down. It's the mom and a daughter, and they're talking about the new baby and how they're excited that they're the family, whatever. And then the mom goes down, and then the daughter comes up, and she's just like, "Why won't you love me?"
Mm.
And apparently, there's this backstory where she thinks that the father of this new baby is in love with her, and she's 13, and she's like, you sent me these poems. And he was like, they were for a school project. They didn't mean anything. She's like, you liked all my photos on Instagram. And he's like, I liked a single photo on your Instagram
Of a dog.
of a dog.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like this big, like, she's acting a lot older than she is, but it's also kind of like this crush
It's
kind of thing.
like very just very ridiculous. Like the stories you tell, which is like a interesting kind of foreshadowing of the stories you tell yourself in your head. So yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh, I guess gotta back up because at the furniture store and part of the sales thing was the glass is unbreakable.
Yeah.
He kept saying he was like the glass is unbreakable, which well I think I said I was like oh something's gonna be with the glass on the table.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah. So, anyways, they get it inside. He's putting it together. He's missing a single screw. They kind of have an argument. He calls the furniture guy. Hey, bring me a screw. Great. The wife leaves to go get groceries.
And it's her first time leaving the baby,
Yeah.
which if anybody's been a parent, like the very first time that you're like, I'm just going to go to the grocery store by myself. Everything's okay. I'm gonna go, like, I'm in the right window where they're napping and I don't need to feed them, and I'm gonna just pick up some groceries and some wine. And she goes to the grocery store. She has a conversation with somebody where somebody's like, "Can you recommend a wine?" And she's having, and the reason why I bring this up is because it's like normal conversations, but when you were in like the thick of, kind of postpartum, and she's not in a postpartum depression, she's just in postpartum where you're just kind of in baby land, you're not sleeping very much, you're just kind of like, gosh, like I just, you're in a little bit of a survival mode. So she's
Mhm.
having some dinner. She runs into an old girlfriend. She's picking up some groceries. She calls the husband. She's like, I can get, the expensive wine or the normal cheap wine that we like. Which one do you like? Your brother's coming over for a meal. And he's being kind of bizarre on the phone. But I just appreciated the time that they took with her in this grocery store and these interactions. Cause some of it's to talk about like what has happened, which we'll talk about in a moment. But the other side is like, when you're in this space and like being in the world without your baby and it's kind of like clunky, like you're not quite yourself when you're out and you're trying to like enjoy like this moment. And even though she's had like this little tiff with her husband and things like that, like she's obviously like in love, and
Yeah.
she's talking really well about him to the friend that they run into about how he's as a dad and things. So you're like, oh, this is so intriguing, and just a very real view of yeah, like how like how as parents or as wives, like people can be when they like they're in these moments. I just thought it was really honest, just really great, just really great writing.
Yeah.
Mhm. So
So,
dad's at home
yeah.
alone.
Yeah. I'll tell
I
them.
can't.
Yeah.
I can't.
So, if you're a little squeamish, you should probably stop this podcast and move on to
The next one,
the next
maybe.
one.
I don't.
Um, yeah, because she leaves, the baby starts crying. He's trying to soothe the baby. He's, saying all these things, and then he's like, which was also kind of funny. He's like, I know you have a bad name because he doesn't like the name that they're calling the son.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden you hear a big crash and the baby is no longer crying. And because it's outside the room, which I think was actually shot pretty well because it's from the hallway
Yeah.
and he's walking by soothing the baby.
Feeding the baby, and he's like, "Come on, eat. I'm gonna
Yeah.
eat you right up. You're just so cute, and I know you're crying because I'm sorry your mom named you that. That's just
Right.
what happened." And
Yeah.
he's kind of being like, as a dad would,
As a dad would,
Mhm.
yeah. And then it pans to him over the coffee table that's broken, and you see lots of blood and the body of the baby.
Yeah.
And he's kind of trembling and shaking, obviously, from what's happened. And um, I thought the effects, because he had glass in his hand,
Mhm.
and he pulls out, which is pretty like gory, that
Yeah.
like it doesn't cut away from that.
It's
Like,
very good effects. So he's pulling out, and even just how the blood comes out, it's the right color as well.
yeah,
I know you liked the blood in the other one, but I was like, that blood's a little bright for me. This blood looks like real blood.
real dark,
And he's and it
real tea.
yeah, it's deep in his head, it's deep in the carpet. You're seeing the baby's body. It's not showing everything, and then there's blood on, like, his big teddy, and, he's yeah,
Yeah.
just kind of,
So he's after he does that, he picks up the baby
Mhm.
and changes its diaper.
Which we're like, he's in shock.
Yeah.
He just took the body of a baby, we're not sure if the head's there. The baby's obviously not crying, not moving, not anything, and he changes the diaper, and he's like, "I'm gonna put the baby to bed," like,
Yeah.
and so you're like, "Okay, he's in shock," like
Definitely a shock.
Mhm.
Which yeah, I was very believable.
Very believable scene, which is an unimaginable scene. So again, like I can't imagine like director sitting with this man and being like, "Okay,
Yeah.
the most unbelievable, awful thing that could ever happen to a brand new dad is going to happen to you, and you really need to stay in this moment
Yeah.
and act this way." And then his actions get kind of bizarre.
I don't think so. I think still the shock moving on from there because then he wants to clean up the mess,
The blood.
the blood. So he goes to the kitchen. He doesn't find any cleaning products. So then he goes upstairs to the mom and daughter couple mom
Yeah.
and daughter duo
Mm.
upstairs. And he's like, hey, like, they were like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, I'm painting because he's covered in blood still. And he's asking for cleaning products. And then the little girl's like, you better tell your wife
About us.
about us and I'll be by later today. If not, I'm gonna tell her.
And he's like,
And he's just like, okay.
yeah,
Yeah. Like in
I'll tell
shots,
her.
he's like, all right. Kind of just to like move the story along.
Mhm.
It felt very much like that where he's just like, all right, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I got bigger things.
I gotta go. I gotta go paint the red room.
Yeah.
And then he's going down the stairs, and then the sales guy shows up with the screw. So
Yeah.
he's covered in blood. He has cleaning supplies in his hand, and the guy's like, "Look, I got the screw off of this other table. It'll fit." Like, and it was really nice meeting you. I really like you. Like, I don't have very many friends. Like, maybe we can hang out. Hey, do you want to find out this build this thing? Because I want you to win a fan. And he's just like really coming at him with all the sales person energy. And the store, and he's just like,
I gotta go.
"What? I don't
I also thought it was interesting because the mom upstairs too was kind of flirty with him. Like everyone was kind of flirty
with this dad."
with the dad
Man.
throughout. Even like when she was talking on the phone at the grocery store,
Mhm.
she runs into a friend of theirs
Mhm.
who was married and then moved away.
Mhm.
And she's like, oh, like,
"Hey, cool daddy.
yeah.
How are you?" And I used to laugh with him so much. He was so
You know what I mean? Like that was a weird undertone where everyone kind of,
like thinks he's great.
yeah,
Everyone kind of just thinks he's great.
great.
And she's like, "Yeah, he's fine."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I wonder if like in because obviously we watched it with English subtitles, if it would have landed
Oh,
better
definitely.
in Spanish, like where everyone's kind of like maybe that's like a playing with his character as far as like he is good, he's charismatic, everyone loves him.
Oh, you're right. Like we're catching it as like flirtation energy or sensual energy.
Yeah,
Or maybe that's not the case at all. He's just friendly.
friendly.
And that's like how it's just maybe
Which is like the opposite because after this point he's very anxious and nervous and very off
yeah.
the rest of the movie.
Mhm, and so this guy is like makes him fill out this draw for a fan. He's like, "I'm gonna make sure you win it.
Yeah.
You're gonna win this
Here,
fan."
I'm in this fan.
The guy's like,
And I'm gonna come back over and tell you how good this fan is.
"And we're gonna hang out." And he's like, "No, what?
Yeah.
Get out of
And then he closes the door in his face.
here." I thought
So
I thought that moment was it built up the anxiety for me. Like, again, I thought it was, necessary because he's in this trauma space. He's just talked to these people upstairs. That young girl is stressful enough. Then it comes down, and then because of this person's energy, you're, like, anxious for him, like, get away from him, and also, what do? You can't clean it up right now. You need to call the police, like, what are you doing?
yeah.
And so
I also felt like
yeah.
I was anxious because I was like, oh, the time, like your wife's gonna be back. Like we gotta hurry. And so
Mhm.
then it pans to him cleaning up the mess, which is actually pretty like the water and the wringing stuff out. I mean, he didn't get all of it, but
Yeah.
um that in that moment he freezes because
She starts buzzing to come afraid.
no no no.
No.
He finds the his son's head under the chair. and he goes to try to reach for it, and then he can't. So he
Can't do it.
he didn't pick it up, so it's still under the chair. And then it's like everything kind of slows down after that.
Remember, I was like, "They
'Cause
better not show me a decapitated baby." And then not only do they,
they did.
but they just really go there with
Yeah.
and
So he like everything slows down after that point. He goes and takes a really long shower. He has a cry. He gets cleaned up. He bandages his hand, and then he goes outside. And there's this moment where you're like, "Oh, is he gonna kill himself now
yeah.
because of all of this guilt?" And then you hear the wife. She's buzzing outside. Buzz, buzz, buzz. He's outside. He hears it. You're like, "Oh, this is the moment. What decision do you make?"
Mhm.
And then he comes inside and he answers the door for her. And then she comes in. She's like, "What took you so long?" He said, "I was putting the baby down."
It took me a long time. He's asleep in the room. Don't go in
Yeah.
there.
Don't go in there.
And she's like, What happened to your head?" And he's like, "The coffee table broke." She starts killing herself laughing.
Laughing.
She's like, "Oh my God." After all that fighting, all the unbreakable glass. Ah ha ha ha. And
Yeah.
she's just like,
She lasts for like a good
it's like, and it
long time.
and it's so uncomfortable because she doesn't know.
Mhm.
And she's like, "That's your karma, honey." Like, she's like, "Ha ha ha." Like,
Yeah.
and she's really like belly laughing. And she's like, "Gosh, I haven't laughed like that in so long. Like, thank you for that. Like, that whole
Thank
fight
you.
was worth it for
And then
that
she's
laugh."
even like, "I wish I was there to see it."
Gosh, I would have given anything to see it.
Yeah.
And then he's just like cutting these
Yeah.
onions really slowly, like,
Yeah.
it is. Oh, look at the goosebumps. It is one of those moments where you're like, no, you wouldn't. And wow, do I believe this moment about how like it's making you feel sick because she's so like relishing and how funny this is and how great this is for her, and you're so sick because she doesn't know.
Yeah, well, I think they did a really good job of, like, bringing us as the audience along with him,
Mm.
where then the other characters don't know and that everything's normal and funny, and they reacted in a way that's
Sweet non.
normal. They asked the questions, so they finished cooking. His brother and his brother's new girlfriend girl,
Mhm.
who's quite a bunch younger, they talk about it early on that he turned vegan for her just to be able to shag her.
Mhm.
And so there's like this like kind of play like, oh, my brother's doing it again kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so they come to dinner and everything's great. They bring a gift for the baby and they're like, oh, I want to see the baby, I want to see the baby. And he's like, no, baby's sleeping again. He's like, it took me a long time to put the baby down.
And it's something where it's like it's so obvious that his character is not his typical character because they're like, "'Kay," like, they're like, "I guess parenting's stressful." Like, "Okay," like, he's, like, sweaty, he's, like, chugging wine, he's not eating, he's, like, just being very strange, and the brother was like, "What's going on, man? Like, you can tell me, like, are you okay?" Like, it's we can we see the baby's room? And the baby's actually sleeping in a separate room because they had designed, like, the baby's room, it's more of a playroom, and so they're like, "Oh, it's the only room that's finished." Like, "That's okay, right?" And he's
Yeah.
like, "Yeah." And then they're in, like, the playroom, and they're like, "Oh, like, the toys from when you were little," and they're, like, having this happy moment, and he's just, like, taking it all, like, in and, like, trying to be like, "Yeah, I spent all this time. It's the only really room that's finished because they just moved to this place,"
Mhm.
and they're all like, "Well, that's great." Like, everybody's kinda like,
Yeah,
"That's great, right?"
that's
Like,
awesome.
"That's good.
Yeah.
Like, you're good. Like, you did a good job. Like, you're good," and he's like staring off into space, like, he can't handle it at all.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Well, and he kind of freaks out, like, starts have imagining things, so he brings out, like, the monitor because
Mhm.
she wants to check on the baby, and he's like, "Oh, no, I'll go get the monitor. Yeah, baby's still sleeping, I'll take care of it. You just enjoy these 2 hours
Mhm.
not doing anything." So he goes, gets the monitor, and then she's like, "Sounds like there's water on because there was, like, dripping over the monitor," and he, like, runs back in the room.
And it's blood dripping from the bottom of the
Yeah,
mattress onto the
which is
carpet.
yeah, pretty gory from that little scene, like, so he, like, picks that up, but then he hears like, he thinks he hears, like, the baby crying, like, he has, like, a little freak out moment, and she's like, "Why are you staring at the monitor like that?" And it kinda pans back to, like, being normal again, so he's starting to
He's losing it.
losing it for sure.
And to me, this is so bizarre because if you at this point, I feel like the shock would have worn off and the onset of, like, what you're trying to put off is absolutely inevitable. You're going to and so I feel like that's where I was like, "What?"
I don't think so. I think it's probably, like, a span of, like, 45 minutes or something
I think he
crazy, like, a lot shorter, you know what I mean?
and he's trying to avoid that cry, that, like, the mother's lost a
Yeah.
child cry.
So they're going around the table, they're eating, and they're talking about, like, in order, like, what's the ranking of the people you love?
Mhm,
And so then they ask the wife, and she's like, "Oh, like, I can't imagine, like, my son's, like, it, but,
mhm,
Jesus, who's the husband, is a close second." And then the other couple kinda makes a joke,
mhm.
where she, like, gives a really long list, and then she's like, "Oh, but you're number 13 on the list," which was quite funny, and
Mhm.
then she was like, "But I think you'll move up quite fast through it."
Yeah, I believe in you, like,
Yeah.
you keep acting where you are, like, I think you'll get there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then they slip, and then they say that, like, they're expecting a child,
Mhm.
a baby girl, and they show a photo, and they're all, like, like, they're talking,
Mm,
and, um, and then they get to the husband, Jesus,
mhm.
and, uh, they're like, you know,
Say something.
"Say something, what is your order? Who do you love?" And he's like, "I love my wife." And then she's like, "Well, don't you love your son?" And he's like, "Yes." And then he's fidgety.
And he gives them a hard time for being pregnant.
Yeah. And
Mhm,
then he says a lot of mean things about his brother
mhm.
and his girlfriend. And then he gets up and goes to the bathroom, which again, he's leaving a message. He's leaving basically a voice note to his wife because he's going to kill himself.
It's a suicide
A,
message, yeah.
a suicide message
Saying
saying, yeah,
that
that
it was an awful accident, but
I can't see you cried
can't see you breathe.
after you, yeah. Once you hear this, I'm probably already gone, but please forgive me. It was an accident, etc., etc. And then in that moment, his brother actually comes in and finds him.
And it's like, "Who is that message for? What happened?"
Yeah.
And then he brings him into the baby's room and he tells them what happened.
Yeah.
And,
And then his brother's kind of in shock a little bit
mhm,
to figure out what's going to happen. And
he's like, "We're gonna go sit down. I'm gonna tell your wife.
yeah,
We're gonna sit down at the table and I'm gonna describe to her what happened, okay? And you're not gonna have these suicidal thoughts, and
then we're going to do it.
we're gonna do it." And which you're like, "Okay, this is like
Yeah, it's believable. Still believable.
yeah, some love. Like where
Yeah.
the brother's like, I can't take this away from you, but I can deliver this message."
As well as it was an accident. So, like,
Mhm,
still okay.
mhm. Yeah.
And then when they go back out,
Got
the,
a
the door,
13-year-old
yeah,
fucking girl knocks on the door and it's like,
the
I
door rings.
she's like,
Yeah.
"Does your husband talk to you?" And she's like, "Oh, well, like, kinda it's not a great time. Like, come back. Like, my husband's having a bad day. It's kinda weird, right? If company over." She's like, "He kissed me in the lift," which is not the truth. She tried to kiss him in the lift, and he was like, "Oh, okay, no." Like, "No, no, no, mm-mm." And so she's like, "I think
Such a
it's
great
better if
show.
I talk to everybody at once." So she's always carrying this dog. And do you remember I said this to her? I was like, "I swear if that girl's dog goes in that house, she's gonna find that baby's head under the chair, and I can't handle it."
Yeah.
And then the dog gets put on the floor, and I'm like, "It's gonna have it."
Yeah.
And then so the 2 men come down the hallway, and they're gonna talk, and this girl's here, and she's like, "You have something to tell me? Like, this day can't get any worse. Like,
Yeah.
the broken table, like, everything else, like, you're fighting, like, you're being weird, like, what else?"
And the
And
dog starts barking quite loudly because obviously the dog's found the head. Everyone's kind of yelling. And then she's like, "Shut your dog up." And then the dog grabs the head. And then everyone kind of starts screaming
Mhm,
and freaking out.
mhm,
And the brother-in-law, the brother,
mhm.
um, picks up the head,
He's
is holding it, and the mom's like, "Let me see, let me see."
he's like, "Just get out of the flat. You don't
Yeah.
wanna see this."
You don't want to see this. You don't want to see it. And then it kind of everyone's kind of screaming, but they uh
Put music on
put
top of the height of the emotion.
yeah, like a very like calm
Well, you even said it,
chill.
like, this is incredible cinema
Yeah.
because the we've heard that cry before, we've heard that scream, we can imagine that mourning, grieving moment, we've heard that in cinema before, and so instead they placed, music on top of and very intimately shot each of the characters, how
Yeah.
they're reacting and responding.
Very close up to all of them panning back and forth. Like, it was a really
Usually this scene.
good scene for sure.
Mhm. The mom takes the head from the brother-in-law, and then she walks towards the patio. It pans around again, and they pan back to the patio, and
And
that's
she's
the
gone.
she's gone.
And then you
Here's
hear sirens, and then the police are there, and they say that, they're talking about the case or whatnot, and they say it's a double suicide
yeah,
with well, and the baby too. Um, they think everyone's kind of just fell off, which then leads us to believe that the husband ended up killing himself as well,
mhm,
and the little girl is in shock,
yeah,
so she can't talk. The girlfriend of his brother, um,
shaking and vomiting.
shaking and vomiting in shock too because of her baby, so she can't talk, and then the brother, they say the only sentence he can say, is "the coffee table,"
And that's it.
and then that's the end of the movie.
That's the end of the movie.
So, what I mean, personally for me, I do think, like, it was good cinema in the sense of, like, it was very, like, close camera, lots of emotion, lots real story,
Believable.
believable set, like, everything was pretty
Mhm.
really, really kinda close-knit and really good, I think, for all the actors and actresses.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
what do you think?
Um, I
She takes a deep breath.
it's that, and the reason why so anytime that you have this reaction when you leave a movie, like, the filmmaker made its point.
What do you think the point was?
I think the filmmaker I think the conversation around the table about love was so poignant in this scenario because and I could even like unpack that conversation on, if you're ever somebody who's gone to like marriage retreats or like done like marriage counseling, how those types of things, they'll have long conversations on like why it's so important that the husband and wife are an example to the child and therefore that love needs to be the most fostered so that they can bring up like a healthy, happy child and how that type of love is a different type of love. And this love is an example to this. So that's like an example. That's something that's like talked about. So when you're in this scenario, you're thinking, oh, there's a disruption in the marriage, there's a disruption in this love, putting layers of love in that, yes, all of it matters and all of it's important, but there is like, what you handle, what you can't handle, is basically it's wrapped around how can you cope inside of like hard topics with the people that are around you and who you love. Um and yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna ask you a follow-up question from that.
Yeah.
Do you think that someone in on the writing team or director, someone lost a child?
I think that even if it was a miscarriage, that exploring that feeling of, so it's not a horrific accident. That's what I mean by miscarriage, which is awful, still. But it is, yeah, the depths of what that does and where that takes people, and it is traumatic, and it does kind of explore how you cope and how disconnected the relationship can be, and how it's hard for you to even see your life past that moment, and how that's yeah, probably maybe probably like it's definitely worth exploring as a topic for sure. In that other movie I referenced, it was about postpartum depression,
Yeah.
and I love it exploring that topic. It was really great in this film, exploring like they're actually like pretty joyful. They like it was a hard road for them to get it. They're older. They had to go through IVF. They had to go to a clinic. It was the first time he'd cried in years when he had his son. Like there was a lot of love there, and but the loss of the child wasn't what made him go out to the patio. It was thinking of his wife, right? And so I thought that was
Oh,
interesting, right?
that is interesting because at the very end, it does show, like, the 3 of them, like, in the distance, like,
As a ghost,
as a ghost, like,
happy
happy
together.
together
Mhm.
again.
Yeah, with the child where
Yeah, so maybe it is love.
yeah, but for her, like, seeing the child immediately left, right?
Lost it. Yeah.
And so that's an interesting topic. So I'm not sure if that is the point of the filmmaker. Obviously, this is my interpretation of like, I thought that subject was so interesting around the table of like the layers of love and how you spend your thought process on where you spend your energy, time, resources, patience, all of that, with love. But because he literally felt like he couldn't go to her with this information that this had happened. Right.
Yeah.
Because I even think about this scenario where he's cleaning and all those things and he leaves the apartment to come back and like clean things. Like if you picture yourself in that scenario, which I can't really, I like won't go there, but like if you picture yourself, like I would just lay on the floor next to all of the glass of blood. Like there's no way I would have moved from that moment. So the fact that he's like, I could, because he's saying it was wife. My wife can't see all this blood. My wife can't see these things. And that isn't that interesting aspect of love because she talks about the son. This is the most important. Anyways, I just thought that was interesting. Layers just
Interesting.
that's what
Yeah.
I took from it anyways. I
Okay.
thought it was an interesting family dynamic.
Well, what do you rank it?
Well, as a genre film, because it's horrific, right? So this is horror because this is horrific, but it is more dramatic. It's more drama. It's exploring the concept of things that could potentially happen. So is it a horrific accident that happened to a child like
Yeah.
that happens? And so I was thinking about that when I was like, I would rate this movie like quite high because I definitely was in the moment. I felt the storyline, believed the characters with the moment, felt fear, felt anxiety, felt like nervousness, felt like that awful like no like feeling. Um and then thought, yeah, like a lot came into place. So I feel like I would rank it probably, I want to say an 8.5 for me.
Okay.
And because it was so awful, I feel like when you think of horror, it is easier to think of it in a campy sense. Villain, character, werewolf, ghost. Sometimes I think we can think that way, but for this, I'm like, this is just horrific, and they explored how like human emotion and the horrors of it.
Okay.
8.5.
8.5 from Jet.
Yeah, what do you think?
I'm going to give it a 6.5
Okay.
because I think while yes, it kind of fits into genre because of that, I would say it's probably more of a drama for me.
I agree.
So
It is a drama.
so in which also maybe we should recalibrate and look at that because we're judging all of these films individually,
Well, this is the
which
how did
is
our team
which is good, but also then maybe it's like, well, is that better than the last one we watched or the one before that? You know what I mean? We've seen some really good movies and then we've seen some,
look great?
well, if you're watching.
If you're watching, if you're following along, sometimes they're
Yeah.
trash, and we're like, here we are. All right, we wasted that time. I mean, what we spent that time.
But yeah, I would say that it
You needed more for it to be.
yeah.
But
But I mean, like, if I think about that for horror, like, yes, the story is sad, very dramatic, but there's like really only like 3 scenes, him pulling out the glass, the blood dripping, and then the head. And a dog. Well, I mean, like the dog barking, but that's like the head at the end. Yeah, holding the head at the end. So, like, I would say that's my 3 moments of genre related content.
I think we're used to horror being sinister. So when it's not sinister, how do we interpret it?
That's true.
And so, which is again, it's like an interesting subject matter.
Yeah.
What if it is just a mistake and it's a horrible mistake? Does it make it a horror movie?
Does it make it a horror movie?
That's the question. Was it a great piece of cinema? Yeah, it was. For me, that was a great piece of cinema.
It was good.
I physically responded the entire film, right from the beginning.
Yeah.
And but I also maybe was made for someone with my life experience, right? And so maybe that would be more of a response than a different like subject matter, right?
Well, I mean, what is the metrics? There's more women that watch.
Yeah, 88% of true crime podcasts are female listeners, and then on average for in theater audience is 64 to 74% women.
So I think we made this movie for Kid over here.
I mean, I am just it's awful. Like this is the type of film that I definitely would lose sleep over for sure, and would think on and if somebody were to watch it, I'd be like, "Oh, okay, like prepare yourself." Like it just seems sort of like us. And even do you remember in the beginning you're talking about the baby crying, and
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh, it's such this very short period of time that a baby cries that way." How where they cry with like the W at the beginning, where they're like, "Wow," like, and it's like this high pitch. It's really only the newborn stage that they cry that way, and so I know exactly what that cry means.
Mm,
I was like, "Oh, like that. I know what that is." And so I was finding it so endearing, and you're like, "Well, gosh, whenever you're done crying, happy
yeah.
flower."
I was like, "Oh, getting a headache.
So it's just
Getting a headache."
and, yeah, which is like again, I think it was made to get all of that emotion
Yep.
or the fact that the husband's really trying to protect the wife, which is in an endearing way, kind of, and also he was so wrong, and she told him that he was wrong for that purchase, and it's his fault, and he made that choice.
She really loves this movie.
Yeah, I was at a
Yeah.
point, but I think it let me go there. I believed it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let us know what you think.
Mhm.
As
Yeah.
always, like, follow,
Yeah. And if
review.
yeah, review us if this is a helpful review for you and you like hearing, kind of all of the details of the film before you're watching it. I'd love to, we'd love to know that if you're
For sure.
liking hearing from us. So
And leave a comment. Do you agree with Kit
yeah.
on this film?
Yes. Is it a horror movie?
Yeah. Well, I'm Cade,
And I'm Kit
and we're real people.
doing real reviews.
Bye, guys.
Bye.